Okay, great. So welcome back everyone for our hour of meditation today. Just a reminder that there's no evening session today. So it'll be an opportunity for extra practice on your own. And I want to start again, just by opening the floor for a few minutes. Again, if anybody has had any experiences doing the practice out in the real world that they want to talk about, any issues that have come up, I'll just ask briefly if anybody has anything like that they want to talk about. And if not, it's okay, but I'm just going to ask. And anyone on Zoom can feel free to chime in also if they have that. Sure.
Just behavioral sharing. So usually at night before I go to sleep, I have this dilemma whether to watch a little bit of TV or not to relax me, or if it will. And I'm never sure if it impedes my sleep or if it relaxes me. So yesterday I just decided to surrender that. So I said I just won't do anything about it and I'll just surrender. And then I seemed to go to sleep and I slept very well.
Oh no, great. That's a very, yeah, great, exactly. So the decision comes up, should I watch TV now or shouldn't I, right? And so the point is not, I'm surrendering, therefore I should watch TV, or surrender, I should not watch TV, but rather the decision itself is surrendered. Exactly, and I'm not going to use my willpower, I'm just going to sort of be in a relaxed state, aware of the thought, and then allowing whatever happened to happen. So, perfect, great, it's great. Okay, so if there are no other questions, then let's get started with the actual. Thank you so much. Let's get started with the actual meditation. So yesterday we did a bunch of surrender, so today let's do a bunch of inquiry for the sake of change. And so again, right? I was commenting something earlier this morning, right? I mean, in a way, the whole issue with inquiry is a deep focus on understanding of. I mean, it will come with practice, but it is really this allowing you to penetrate into this observer notion, because again and again and again and again, this is what the mind does, right? It's so automatic, habitual, and impossible to get out of it without a lot of practice. Is when we think of the observer, looking for the I, again, right, we call it the observer, the I, right? And it, again, has the immediate implication of seeming to be out there somewhere, and so we're looking everywhere except at ourselves. It's habitual because the mind, that's what the mind does. The mind is automatically, it's a one-way, tends to be a one-way directed looking at that, somewhere there. I'm looking there, out there for me. It must be there somewhere. Even when we think we're looking for ourselves, we're habitually looking out there somehow. And so the whole key to the practice is we're ultimately trying to understand. We're looking for us. Yes, you. We're looking for you, the one who's looking. Again, you. So yes. So with that, let's begin. Again, just look for you, and how you, the knowing of you. That knowingness that I'm here, I am, I'm awake, I'm aware. All of those things are just synonyms. And so when you say, who am I and where am I? These are all synonyms. That is to say, in our moment-to-moment current experience, there's not just the knowledge of the object, there's also the knowledge that its object is the thing that is experienced, or the stuff, the overall movie that's happening right now, including both the external world and the internal world of feelings and thoughts. All of that is the movie. So the one who is aware, or the awareness that the movie is happening, that is different from the movie, because there's a movie, but then, oh yes, I know the movie is happening. That's a separate piece of knowledge than the movie itself. That separate piece of knowledge is like the space of the movie, the space within which is happening, the silent, invisible presence to the movie. Yes, I'm not the movie. I'm here, but I'm not the movie. That's how I can observe the movie. That knowledge. What is that knowledge? Can we turn our attention and isolate, grasp that knowledge? Anyway, let's try that. Let's give it 10 minutes. Where did your minds go?
I seem to be having very good dialogue with myself,
What kind of dialogue?
trying to convince my mind, which is trying to take off or to-do list. So before I would go with the thought and didn't realize where I was or what I was, but now I'm able to catch it and say, okay, let's talk here. So the thought which you have been enforcing us, telling who is having that thought or who is that thing sinking in.
And you were able to start seeing this. Well, so one important thing is, the thoughts that were carrying you away are now being spotted faster. They're not carrying you away as fast.
It's the time I'm able to catch it is getting faster.
That's great. Yes, that's great. That means your attention is becoming more focused. That's really what it means. Your concentration is increasing.
Look.
That's great. And when you did ask, who's this thought occurring to?
It disappears.
And
then
exactly.
something else is
Yes.
again brought.
Yes.
It's so haphazard.
Yes. Good. That's good. It's progress. 100%.
It's jumping like from one topic to the other. So.
You're gonna see that. You're gonna see how what your mind's preoccupations are, how it jumps, how it hops. But the fact that you're able to spot them now, it's already a sign of increased focus. So that's great.
Yeah, like even though initially teeny bit my mind went to some pressing issue and pressing pain, and I said, okay, no, I am not that, and it doesn't affect me like that. And I told them it kind of intensity went off and then it completely gone. Then I said, okay, I am a hill kind of watching hill, stable hill. It doesn't affect, but I know what is going on, and I am not. I am that kind of a feeling, Yeah.
So those are helpful. Both what you just said, right? They're helpful. You might say attitudes, right? To say it doesn't affect me. I mean, it's part of the philosophy, obviously, and I'm this sort of immovable hill that's the self, something like that, right?
Yeah.
But what I want to point out is, right, so for example, once this pressing immediate pain or something like that arises, right, what you really want to do in inquiry is ask, to whom is it occurring, right? Because the reason the pain is because you think it's yours.
Yeah.
And you can tell yourself, of course you can say it's not mine, you can say it's not mine. That's fine, that's an attitude, a philosophical attitude, which can be helpful for the practice. But it's a little bit different from the practice itself. The practice itself says, it doesn't give you an assumption. It says, look, this thought is occurring on a screen. I am watching the screen. Okay, now, this I part, where is it? To look for it, right? That mystery element is there, right? Who, when I say I'm watching, what do I mean by that actually? Because it turns out, right, when you start looking for I, right, now it's suddenly hard to find. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that we want to interest you in that puzzle. There's a puzzle because here I am, so clearly here, and I know I am, and yet when I look for what this I is, and suddenly I can't seem to find it, even though I'm here. But where? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's how it undermines. You see, it's a little bit different. Again, the attitude of doesn't affect me is fine. Again, it's an understandable, we have all these attitudes because they help us through the practice, actually. That's why we have them. But ultimately, to go beyond that attitude and to recognize the issue is, who's having this fear? Who's having this pain? Who's having this problem? I am. I'm assuming that I'm this I that's having this problem. That's why it bothers you. Because, you know, if you knew this thought belonged to somebody else, it wouldn't bother you. It's because you identify as the thinker of the thought that it is your pain, and as the person about whom the content of the thought affects. So the job in inquiry is to point out, I don't even know who's observing this thought, and to look for it.
Yeah, like I start off with that, and then, you know, attitude became, and then it became an experience of me associating with the stillness, kind of.
Okay, good. I mean, that's good.
So
That's
I
what
would
leads.
just to start, you said, okay, timer on and start.
No, sure.
Then that was the thing.
But I just want to point out, right, the real undermining, right, like the thought is sitting on this foundation of assumption. Like the pain, the suffering of it is sitting on the assumption that it's mine.
Yes, correct.
Right? And so the best way, you know, we can tell ourselves it's not mine, but better to see by looking, like mine. Well, who does mine belong to? Like it belongs to me. Like I'm one aware of this thought that is mine. And then, yes, but where am I? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To look, right? Okay, I'm saying this is my thought, my situation, my problem. But where am I?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That. So, yes.
So I have to be 100% convinced that it's not mine. So every now and then it pops up.
No. Well, so again, that's what I'm saying. So you don't necessarily have to convince yourself immediately that it's not yours. You can just look. You can say, look, whose is it? Whose is this thought? Who is this thought occurring to, right? Like, this is a voice that's coming in your head saying, I have this problem. It's so painful. Okay, who's hearing this voice?
Yeah.
Who is hearing the voice? Truly to ask that. Truly to wonder. But what do I mean by this word I? I'm having this problem. Where am I? That's the key. That's the key.
Okay.
To ask yourself, to wonder. Because this is not a figure of speech. We really have this issue. Like, we really do not know who we are. Really. So, you know, so to really let that sink in. And it's hard for it to sink in because we don't really believe it. That's why we're like, yeah, of course I know who I am. So, you know.
Akilesh, you are saying for this search not to stick with whatever the attitude we have, but focus like whom it is occurring to.
I mean,
In
yeah.
it too, because where the problem comes, we think that whom it is occurring to, from there how to proceed our search, like.
So.
And it is, I can understand, you told her not stick to your attitude,
Right.
but you have to
But look.
look for the I.
Yes.
That feeling of I, from where is it, whom
Yes.
it is occurring.
Yes.
There the problem is coming, like we think about it but don't know how to proceed
How to
in
proceed.
this path further.
Okay, well, so no, that's interesting. So you think about it, right? Remember, right, when you're feeling I, whatever that is, right? Again, the base assumption is, to keep this in mind, right? And these are the things, same things have to be repeated because they're the difficult things. You're currently experiencing I. Remember that, right? It's as if, for example, I don't know, I mean, the only examples I can think of are things you're experiencing constantly, like air, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine you had never thought of the concept of air, okay? And then someone said, yeah, you know, what's the stuff that you're walking in? And more space, even better, you know? And suppose you had never heard of the concept of space.
Yes.
So yeah, you know, you notice how, between you and that wall, there's something. Like, if there were nothing between you and the wall, you wouldn't be able to see the wall. Right? And you're like, so but you know, be like, you know, but where do I go from there? Again, you have to go to the fact that there is space, literal physical space. Now I'm talking about physical space, right? Physical space between you and that wall. right? So if we didn't have, through math and all these scientists and philosophers in the past, this concept of physical space, we'd have to contemplate on the fact that we're able to see things because there's something between us and the thing, right? And then eventually we would come to this, hopefully come to this concept of space, right? But it's rooted in our experience. The experience is, I'm currently able to see objects at varying distances, which means that the object cannot be pressed against my eyes. There must be something in between, and we're calling this space, right? So, you know, in the same way, just like there's a physical space between you and the object, you might say there's a kind of mental space between you and the experience, whatever that is. Just like there's a space that's required for you to see the wall over there, similarly there's a inner space that's required for you to see any experience any experience. So that inner space is something which you're currently tasting. And so when you don't know where to go, right, it's always back to that, you know, the sense that I'm experiencing, you know, it's rooted in something which you are currently touching. Remember that. You know, that's, do you see what I'm saying? Sorry?
Mentally. It's mentally.
Yeah, I mean, mentally, right now, you know that, for example, when you hear my voice, you know that you're not my voice. You exist listening to my voice, right? So that information is not just contained in my voice. When you hear my voice, you know I exist apart from this voice and I'm listening to it. That is not coming from my voice. That's a separate piece of information. So the voice is one piece of information, and you, as the non-voice observer of the voice, are a separate piece of information. So that piece of information, that second piece of information, is something which you are currently experiencing directly. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that piece of information, we're trying to, like, locate it. Like, what exactly is that piece of information? How do you know that you exist apart from the voice? Like, you do know it. But how exactly? Does that make sense? Yes. You're always going back to that, because that knowing, it's an instantaneous, direct knowing. Like, yeah, I know I'm listening to the voice, and I know I'm not the voice. That's very obvious, but what exactly is that? So that's one thing I'll say. The other thing I'll say is, right, when you say, I don't know where to go from here, right, again, right, I don't know where to go. This is a thought. This thought occurs to you. Again, this is an object, just like my voice. Just like my voice occurs to you, your thought occurs to you. The thought is, I don't know where to go.
That's an object.
It's an object of which you are aware. So I'm aware of this object called a thought that says, I don't know where to go. Right? And again, I know I'm not this object. I know I'm not this thought. Right? And again, I have that second piece of knowledge. The thought is one piece of knowledge. The other piece of knowledge is, I know I'm not this thought, but I'm observing this thought. So that second piece of knowledge, again, I'm experiencing it. Where is it? Where is that knowing coming from?
Who is experiencing?
Yeah, where is that knowing, that light, that, yeah, I know, of course I know I'm not this thought. I know I'm here experiencing this thought, but I'm not this thought. I'm here separate from the thought, experiencing the thought. That piece of knowledge, something I somehow know it. I just know it. I know it, of course I know it. It's like so, it's just there. This knowing is just there. Where? How do I know that? I must know it somewhere coming from my experience somehow. Just like there's channels of information, right? You know, our senses are channels, right? The visual channel, audio channel, blah, blah, blah. There's the thought channel, there's the emotional channel, you know. We can divide up all the channels however we like. There seems to be an extra channel of some strange kind, which is giving this extra other piece of information, the subject piece of information, the I piece of information.
Or the base.
Sorry?
Or it's a base.
Yeah, you can, exactly, it is a base, absolutely, it is a base. But either way, it's some other channel of information that doesn't fit into any of the other categories. It's not coming from any of the objective sources, but it's coming from somewhere. So our job is to feel that and figure out, not figure out, but trace experientially what channel is it coming from. Like, it's not coming from any of my senses, and it's not coming from my thoughts. These are all things I'm aware of. It's not coming from my emotions, and if there is silence, it's not coming from the silence. But it's coming from somewhere, because I'm aware of all of these things, and I'm aware that I'm aware of them. So that, does that make sense?
Not through the concept, but through the experience.
Through the experience, exactly, because I'm experiencing literally right now, right? It's like, someone says, right now, you have, for example, the feel of your own body or something like that, Someone says, well, pay attention to that, right? You're paying attention to that directly by feeling your body. Similarly, not exactly the same, but similarly, we have the direct experience of this I-ness, of our own I-ness, of being, of existing and being aware of.
Or by saying, I am that, maybe you will become that and you will experience that.
I would discourage that, because that's saying I am that. It's just, again, another attitude. You see that? So we don't want to make an assumption about, we have, again, all these philosophical ideas. It's not a bad thing exactly. But rather than saying I'm the self or something like that, okay? Rather than saying that to ourselves, let's investigate an inquiry. Let's investigate. Where is this? Because the I that we're experiencing is not precisely the same as the big self, though it's very connected to it. It's not exactly the same. But rather than just tell ourselves we're the great, grand, big, beautiful self, which we can say that sometimes if it helps us, which it does, but investigate the ordinary sense of I. Because that's the mystery. Because here we are. You don't have to think of God or something which is beyond and inaccessible.
Yeah.
We have the accessible I every second.
Yeah.
That itself is the mystery.
Yeah, like Shivaratri, people dress up like Shiva, saying that they want to reach Shiva.
Yeah, right. I'm sure those things help.
Dress up like that.
Yeah, that would be very difficult. That would be very difficult to dress up like the self, actually. Very difficult. So,
and they'd say that I am that.
the dress up as the self would be, you'd have to be,
but it's not that.
you'd have to be invisible and unknowable and all kinds of interesting things. Okay, so with that, let's try again. Another 10 minutes.
What I am trying to do, so maybe you can see that this is what I do all the time. I try to go in and see, hold on to the I thought and see where the I is coming from. And so I don't expect to see anything or hear anything or anything like that. So you stay there as a who is a seer. So focus on the I, whoever is looking.
Yes.
And try to sense it. So I sit there. That's my methodology. Okay, and sometimes the thoughts come to pull you away. Then you go back and see. That's what I've been doing. Is that the right way to do?
Yeah, basically yes. So when you're sitting there, it sounds like when the thoughts are not coming, then this is a state of relative silence. Correct, exactly.
No thoughts come, I can sit with the I, only the I thought is there. So the no other thought comes, meaning I follow the instructions what Ramana has given. So hold on to the I thought and go the I, where is the I coming from or who is this I?
Yes.
And there is nothing to see. I don't expect anything to see. There is nothing you can see. Open the eyes or close the eyes, doesn't matter.
Yes.
The body perception is still there. You can feel the body. You can feel if you open the eyes, you can see the outside thing also.
Absolutely.
But if you close the eyes, it doesn't matter whether you close the eyes or open the eyes. Body conscious is still there, but you can still try to go there inside and see. Sometimes when I go deeper, some type of a light comes and I try to ignore the light is not me.
Correct.
Things like that.
Correct.
So, but that's where I go. I cannot go beyond that.
Yeah. So that makes total sense. Again, just to recognize that in these moments when it's silent, right? And so it's interesting, right? So just remember, it sounds like you are, but correct me if I'm wrong. When you're holding on to this I thought, right? just recognize that you're chasing something.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, the terminology can be a little tricky, like holding on to the I thought, really, like the I thought is a moving object.
No, it's not the moving object. The I thought is there, so that no other thought is there. See, whenever you inquire, there is nothing to inquire also. That's the feeling I get. So who is the inquirer? The inquirer is the inquiry. Both are the same. So when I try to go into the I thought, say who is looking for the I?
Yes.
Is there an I there? Is an I there? Who is looking for the I? So
Yes,
when you turn
yes.
into the I, who is looking? Nothing happens. So then you are sitting on with nothing.
Yeah, but then the nothing is being observed.
Yeah.
So it's important for you to then observe that nothing.
Yes.
Observe that you're observing that nothing. And again, look to the observer.
Right.
So there's a continuous
Correct.
reactivation of that observer sense.
Correct.
And then you're looking for the observer sense.
Yes.
And again you come to a nothing. And again you
Correct.
notice I'm looking. And again
Yeah.
you just
That's what's happening. Correct.
Yeah, good. That's perfect. That makes sense because, you know, and so just recognize you're chasing something. That's all. At some level, see, because we don't want to, you know, holding the I thought.
Right.
If you look at that, it's a contradiction in terminology.
I see. But
Because
sometimes, yeah, correct.
who's holding it, right?
Yeah.
So the holder. We're trying to hold the holder,
Correct.
right?
Sometimes in this process, you get into a state where, you know, it's like a lion, you know,
Huh?
something you're sitting there so peaceful, quiet, nothing happens.
Yes.
And then you wake up, then the thought comes in. So
Yes.
that thought is the one which wakes you up again.
Yes.
So this goes on back and forth.
So
That's what I noticed, I have observed it. But when I do this, when I'm walking outside, you know, you cannot freeze. Right? You're walking, you see the outside sceneries keep going.
yes.
But they're slightly different experience when you are outside. Sitting is, you're not doing anything. That's one experience. When you walk out and when you're doing the same thing, there also you see who am I looking, who am I, then the same, but you cannot freeze. You know, you are still, the body is still moving.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. That's no problem at all. Because either way, in both cases, you know, to use an analogy I probably used before, right? You know, it is in a way just like surrender in that sense. It's like looking at the mirrorness of the mirror, right? So you're looking at a mirror, and you're trying to notice the silvery surface of the mirror, not the objects reflected, right? And when you're sitting down, the mirror is reflecting a relatively, you know, calm still object of some kind, right? Like it's a static object, very static. If you're walking outside, it's slightly less static, perhaps. But either way, you're trying to notice the silvery surface of the mirror. And when you're doing inquiry, and frankly, when you're doing surrender, the same is true really, both cases, right? The way you really should think about it is that as soon as you notice the silvery surface of the mirror, it turns out that surface is itself a reflection in another mirror. It's not actually the surface of the mirror, it's a reflection. And then we have to notice, okay, this is actually reflected in the second mirror, and I'm going to notice the silvery surface of the second mirror, and then the same thing happens again and again, where you think you've got the I thought, and then you're now in another thought, actually.
Right. So during my walk, what I do, usually I go into the Upadeshasaram thing, you know, the various slogans.
Okay.
So try to say, you know, focus on, try to turn the, you know, one of them is like, Validangale vittu manandan valiyuvargal. So find out the inner eye, inner mind, you know. He said, because in Tamil I can easily control the emotion. So many slogans are there, it keeps repeating. You know, there are a few of them always sticks in my mind. That's what I try to get back into, try to see, even when you're walk, there's one, the Tanmaya Nishta means it's like, be like, there are a few slogans we say, Thana Irithale Tannai Aridala, that's one thing. Tannai Ubadi Vittu Uvardal Dan, Isan Tannai Unarudha. These are all very saram.
You're going to have to translate for me.
Tannai Ubadi Vittu means you find out Ubadi, you know, without Ubadi who you are, then that is like
qualities.
Knowing God, knowing Ishvara.
Yeah.
Okay, then, so then say I forgot the Sanskrit thing. You may understand the Sanskrit more than the Tamil version.
Probably not, but tell me.
Right, so those are the things again coming back again and again. So all these things talk about, say one thing is like Validangale vittu manandan valiyuru vardal, meaning without looking outside, look at the shine of the mind inside you.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
when you're walking outside, that's what I think. I'm not looking outside. I want to see who is inside.
Yeah.
Who is looking there.
Perfect.
So it's easier for me to focus that way. That the thought, when thought comes in, I go channel my thoughts back into the
Yeah. I know that's exactly right. That's exactly right. But just to recognize, which it sounds like you are again, just to recognize, right, that at no point should you feel like I have it, right? But to continuously, you're continuously poking yourself in a way a little bit. You're poking yourself in a way to remember that, especially even in these moments of relative peace, that I'm still here. Where, right? That curiosity should be prodding you, you know, and then you want to go in that sort of direct line from mirror to mirror to mirror to mirror to mirror, you might say.
I try to imitate the end state he describes, in the thing, So what do you mean by nishtai? Nishtai means like a meditation. Tanmaya nishtai means that you are everywhere is you. So can you imagine everywhere yourself, like the feeling of, the number of, not only that, like yesterday we were talking about the Vallalars, Voliyuru, what is that thing I was telling about, describing God,
Arul Peranjodi Karan.
Right. No. I forgot. No, Aru Badalar.
Tani Aridalala.
No. That's.
Ullalala.
No, you are talking back into Ramana. Anyway, it'll come. So he describes, the God as Arul Voli, Anginganadabudi Engum Prakasamai Ananda Purtiyai Aruloli Niraindadu Edu. That is the God.
Right.
So same way, so if you think of God, if you are the God, if you are the spread all, that's where God is everywhere means it's like only the feeling is everywhere, right? That's not the body. So trying to imitate that when you go into Nishtai, if you then you are into the zone, like I don't know that you. Right. See, I think you can vary it up to help yourself like that, but fundamentally. You have to still inquire.
Fundamentally, it's about inquiry. Fundamentally, you follow. I would say rather than quote unquote hold. Follow I. Keep noticing the I, and that's the following. Okay. So it sounds like you're doing it right, And again, I'll tell you what I told you before, which is other than that, the only other main thing is continuity, right? Because when you try to do this at all waking moments, then you will see more clearly what exactly stops you, and then those things which are stopping you are the attachments that remain, that are critical. So just to notice that, because that's at that point if you're tracing, right, we want the mind to be like this heat-seeking missile that's going in a sort of straight line towards the horizon, and it may not seem to ever reach it, but the continuity is going to give us the good position essentially for something to happen at that moment. It's like looking at in a way, it's like looking at I don't know if any of you've done this, and I've always been bad at it anyway, but there are these kinds of illusions which you look at on paper, and you have to stare at it for a certain amount of time, and then sometimes it just changes, right? So that kind of thing is happening. We're kind of staring, nothing's happening, and suddenly it'll change.
Okay.
It's like that.
Yeah.
The staring at this.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear, like, the people who are online?
On Zoom, are people able to hear? Hopefully they are.
I don't think you can hear.
You
can hear us.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
I think Anu had a question last round, but
we
didn't hear.
Anu, would you like to ask a question?
I think some other people did.
Yeah, one question I had is, right, when you are watching your thoughts, right, are we going to be judgmental about those thoughts? For example, right, sometimes there are feelings like, getting angry or impatient and stuff, which we know inherently is not a good practice per se by different, using a different metric. But in this practice, right, if such emotions come, are we trying to go into a different tangential direction about why am I angry? Or the question should still be who is angry?
Yeah. So well, I'll answer in two different ways. So one is the question. The main focus has to be who is angry, for sure, right? And even the question of should I be angry? That's also a question. Who's having that thought? So who for sure, 100%. That said, I'll say two more things quickly. One is technically speaking, you can engage in self-inquiry, and then nevertheless, as you do self-inquiry, which is you're focusing on I, the I-ness of the thing, right? Following that, wherever that is, whatever that is, trying to trace it, trying to feel it, trying to move where I move, where am I in the situation. That doesn't actually stop the mind from doing its thing. So just as the thought of anger might arise, and you might look to who is feeling this anger, after that anger, the thought of why am I angry and should I be angry and does this merit anger, those thoughts might also arise by themselves spontaneously, and then you might, the analysis of the situation that led you to the anger and whether or not that's justified or not justified or helpful or unhelpful, all those thoughts can arise by themselves. It's not your job to make them arise. They may arise or they may not arise. I just want to point out that there's nothing technically contradictory between inquiry and having that series of thoughts that could happen. That make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but we just need to watch that, and we are not trying to correct, that
Correct,
emotion at that
correct.
point of time. Right now, only watch.
In inquiry, strictly speaking, you're trying to just trace yourself. You, the
Okay.
you experience, that's the only concern. Now, like I said before, in other contexts, it might be the case that, if your burning anger is completely disrupting your ability to do the practice in the first place, like I just can't do self-inquiry because I'm so furious, right? And you keep noticing this, then you may need to take a step back, depart from the practice for a while, and deal with the anger, and think about that, or process it, or whatever it is that needs to be done with it, to, deal with the underlying need or issue that it's pointing to. That's separate. But if you're sticking to the practice itself, then yes, you're simply looking purely at who, as your primary focus anyway. Anything else can happen spontaneously, but your primary focus is who.
Can you tell your name? It says Anu, but then...
Yeah, actually, this is my wife's sister. My name is Ramesh.
Oh, okay.
Ramesh, okay.
No problem.
Just
No
to
problem,
identify,
no problem.
yeah.
Okay.
So, one follow-up question to that. This is Vidya. So, in that case, can surrender replace the self-inquiry?
Yeah, surrender, so technically, they both can be mixed at will, actually. So you can go from self-inquiry to surrender, or surrender to self-inquiry as you wish. You don't need to go to surrender. You can stay with self-inquiry. So if you're experiencing anger, it's not like you then should surrender. Simply saying, to whom is this anger occurring, will itself, by itself, if you pursue it truly, will actually disable the bite of the anger. Because the bite of it is, it's my anger. Quite apart from the fact of whether it's helpful to have or justified or any of these other questions. The point is, anger is this unpleasant experience, but most of the bite comes from the fact that it's mine. If I knew it's somebody else's, it's not the same at all. So when we look for I, not that we immediately know that it's not my anger, but we do immediately know that I don't know who I am. I know that I am, but I don't know what I mean by that. And as soon as I know that I don't know what I mean by that, now we're in a state of that confusion or wonder or openness, whereby that emotion doesn't have the same effect on us, because that emotion, the suffering of the emotion, is primarily based on, oh yeah, of course I'm the angry one. I'm the one against whom injustice has been committed. That's me, As soon as we see that I actually don't know what I mean by me, then that's kind of immediately blunts the effect of it, basically, in many ways.
I have a related question.
Huh?
I noticed it was mine, because it was easier for me to come back to the observer when I was having some mundane thoughts.
Uh-huh.
But then this thought popped up: what is my purpose? And of course, it's right? What is my purpose? But that really caught my attention, and I couldn't come back to the observer because that question has When I was growing up, it didn't bother me much, but I noticed it's like the purpose always changed, depending on, it changed. So I just dropped that question for a while. But then I got back into spiritual community, and it seemed like that is a question that, it's almost like a noble question, that's the quality I give to it. So I was just, is that an attachment as well?
Yeah, it is an attachment. So remember, attachments come in all varieties. They're not all bad. There could be positive attachments, sattvic attachments, as they say, attachments to learning, to music, to culture, to religion itself. These are all good attachments, but attachments they most certainly still are. And so, it's, like you said, it's my purpose. So if you're staying in inquiry, you would have to say, who's having this thought about my purpose? Who suddenly cares about it? Now that said, right, again, if it's really disturbing you and it's disturbing the practice and you feel you need to deal with it, it's a very deep desire, then go ahead, step away from the practice and deal with it. But, it's not, it may be necessary actually for you to do that, possibly. But yeah, from the pure practice standpoint, it's just another thought. And the good attachments of learning and culture and beauty and, being nice to people and all of those things, those are good attachments. They are helpful to get your mind quieter, but they are still attachments, right? Duty is a huge one for a lot of people. Duty, how could that be bad? But duty is an attachment, for sure. So, we're trying to, go past all of that, beyond our normal notions of good and evil, to the truth.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. So, when I'm trying to do inquiry, based on your cue, I try to look for what during daily waking life is like a shadow of what I think I am that's kind of there behind everything. And then when I'm doing inquiry, I say, okay, based on that shadow, I know the contour of this thing, so it should be, there in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it never is, but I can always go back to that, well, I know what I am, and it's that kind of shadow feeling thing. And then I look for that thing, and it's never there. And so one of the things you said today is don't look for something that's out there, right? But then later you said you need to chase it. You need to chase it. So how can there's like, okay, there must be space between not looking for something that's out there and still chasing. So
well, because the thing is, because the problem is when you no matter what you do, when you try to look for yourself, your mind is going towards, nevertheless, what seems like some sort of object. So you have to recognize that though I'm trying my best to look at myself or inward, that wherever I am is yet another experience, which is actually an outside of some sort. And then again recognize, well, this isn't it either. Somehow I'm aware of this. This is the paradox, because the I can't be put into any of these categories. It's not inside, it's not outside, it's not a thought, it's not a feeling, it's not a sense, right? However you try to locate it, it's not inside my body, but it's not outside my body, and it's not in my head, it's not in my heart, it's not outside of them either. I'm repeating myself, but so it's a riddle where it is, so though we try our best to not look outside and to look inside, that's a problem too. No matter how we look, there's an issue, because the mind is only given these modes of looking, the mind itself being in some sense the obstacle to the finding, because it's like a hammer perpetually looking for a nail, but what we're looking for is not really a nail. All we can look for is nails. That's okay, that's all we can do. So we should look for the nail as best we can. We should look for the non-nail, but we're gonna end up with nails, nail, Eventually, it's gonna occur to us what we're doing. By sheer persistence in this practice, some switch gets flipped, basically, and we realize, oh my God, I've just been neglecting the obvious. I've been neglecting the obvious. That will eventually occur to us, like, oh my God, of course, oh, that's what's being talked about, right? That, of course, how could I have missed it, but that's through this, because we have to go through this process of doing our best with this inherently problematic tool called the mind, which is itself blinding us to the thing. It's like it's like we're looking, again, use one of these other analogies. It's like we're looking through a keyhole at a room, and we're looking for us. Like, where am I, right? And we're looking through this keyhole at all the objects in the room. Like, where am I? Where am I? Where am I? I've looked at this curtain, the chair, and the carpet, and the ceiling, and every object in this room like 1,000 times. I still have not found myself.
But isn't it better to look inside you, because you're walking around and you know the I is there. So in the body, I has to be there, because otherwise you won't be alive, right?
Yeah, I mean, true. I mean, you could sort of say it that way if you want to, but but the truth is, right? Actually,
you're not the body.
You're not the body. Exactly.
I understand.
Yeah.
You're not the body, but there is something in the body which makes it alive. So it has to be there somewhere. So it's easier to look, and then once you identify, then you know it is everywhere. But you cannot, if you look everywhere, you'll get lost.
Well, but I'm not suggesting you look everywhere. I'm suggesting you're looking for something very subtle. You see?
Right.
You see, so you're looking for the subtle feeling that's mixed with all of these things, right? So again, you're looking through the keyhole. And this is similar to the aquarium analogy. You're looking through the keyhole, and then finally it's going to occur to you that there's this body feeling that's outside. It's mixed, you see, it's mixed with all the visual perceptions inside the room. Right? You're looking inside the room through the keyhole, and it's going to occur to you eventually that what I'm looking for is actually not in the visual field. You can analogize the visual field in this metaphor to the mental field. So the mental field is what you're seeing through this keyhole. Mixed with those visual perceptions is the body feeling in this analogy. Right? So eventually it's going to occur to you, oh my God, there's the common body feeling that's mixed equally with all the visual perceptions. And if we trace that feeling back in this metaphor, then we eventually will strike us. I've been looking through a keyhole. I've been looking through the keyhole for something that's outside the keyhole. Unfortunately, we have to look through the keyhole for a long time for this recognition to strike us. So in the same way, analogous way, mixed with all the mental perceptions of objects is our eye sense.
Yeah. But it says that when they say I thought takes you to the I, that's what...
this is what is meant. This is what is meant. Because the I thought is itself it is a common phenomenon. By looking for it and sort of being bounded within this mental sphere, bubble, eventually it will occur to you what the I thought is, which is to say it's hiding itself behind these thoughts, essentially. In and through them. In and through them. In and through them. Yeah? Huh?
So I want to go back to the previous analogy you gave, the horizon. So actually that discouraged me, because intellectually we know we'll never find that horizon. So why am I?
Yeah. Because it's not. We're told by the sages, and it's true. It's not futile. So though it may seem futile, you're right. You cannot reach the horizon. But what will happen is, you know that you are there somehow. You can go towards the horizon with the solid knowledge that this is not a futile quest, something will happen. When I say the horizon, the point being that we want our attention to be like a smooth arrow in a direction, right? Like continuously hopping. It's like we're hopping like a stone across the lake, hopping from one experience to the next on the angle of I. Like always looking at the I aspect of the object. Always looking at the I aspect of the experience. So we want that kind of, Ramana says the concentration should be smooth like the pouring of oil, So you want the smooth movement, I, in that direction. Never thinking that we have it. Always seeking it, always looking for it, always moving towards it, in that endless direction. And then we eventually realize, the horizon is actually on a piece of paper. I'm standing here looking down at the piece of paper, actually. That kind of thing.
What did you say? What it is on the piece of paper?
Yeah, yeah. See, you're looking for a horizon, which is actually drawing. You know, you're looking like, oh, how can I get to the horizon? Eventually, it'll occur to you, I'm towering over the piece of paper. This is it's just drawn, basically. See that?
Yeah.
So eventually that'll occur to you, and that's the realization that you're looking for, basically.
When you gave the analogy of the horizon, I had a similar thought, a similar analogy that came to my mind, which is it's like a joke. Somebody tells Mullah Nasruddin, they wanted to confuse him. So find the corner of a circle.
They called what?
Corner of a circle.
A corner of a circle?
Yeah.
They asked him the corner of the circle?
Mullah Nasruddin confused the questioner by finding the corner. So if I say I found who I am,
yes,
maybe it's like that.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there's exactly. There's a certain paradox in that, for sure.
So the horizon, you mean we should not stop, just keep on going. Don't stop distracted by the thought. Just keep on, like, okay, this is that. Just
it'll be like a series. I mean, I'm not a math or geometry person, but it'll be like a series of, like little corners, right? Like, it's like a series of the corners and a line across those corners. The corner is each little like rectangle, okay, or whatever it is a thought, right? And you're going to hop from corner to corner to corner to corner. So it's not going to be ever perfectly smooth, but it will be as close to that as possible, right? Because you're hopping from moment to moment, trying to stay on that eye track. The eye track towards the eye.
In other words, keep moving.
Keep moving. Keep your attention moving.
That's a key thing.
You're keeping awake, keeping aware. Never getting lost in the thought, but continuously moving along who's aware of this aspect.
Yes, I am stuck today, means I'm able to clarify with you and then move forward.
Yes.
When you are gone also, I should be able to.
Call you.
All right, so with that, I think we're going to conclude today's session. And there's nothing tonight, and we'll see you all tomorrow at the same time.
Hello, am I audible?
Pardon me?
Yeah, am I audible? Akilesh?
Yes, you're on.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I tried to speak before, but then I think I was not audible. Yeah, I just want to share my experience. And just a quick question that when I continue self-inquiry for a long time, I just come to states of silence, and then lots of warm sensations happen in my head, and then I can't get beyond that point, so I switch to surrender, and then I just keep alternating. So this is fine, right?
That's totally fine. In fact, you can even stay with inquiry as long as you want. It's okay. Let the silence be, and you keep on noticing. I'm aware of the silence. I'm aware of the silence. Where am I? Where am I? Where am I? You don't have to use those words, but the point is to directionally point. So that's fine. You just keep going. Continuity at all times. That's the key point.
Yes. And often I switch to surrender, sort of because I get tired, and also because it seems, though I know it's not futile, I'm sure it's not futile, but I feel a sense of helplessness and hopelessness. But I see that I'm still highly attached. The truth is I am extremely still highly attached. It's like an ocean of attachments.
Well, that's good. That's good that you see that. If you see that, that's progress.
Okay. And because I feel that it's like an ocean, I can't get rid of it on my own. I can't take it, and I just surrender. It's sort of kind of an emotional thing.
That's fine. For me. That's totally fine.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. See you all tomorrow. Bye.